Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to be painting up some Stormtroopers from the new Atomic Mass game, Star Wars Legion Stormtrooper kit. And I am going for a very bright, garrisoned kind of Stormtrooper look. We'll walk you through the process. Painting white is always been a challenge to me, and I have different methods that I like to use. I used to just prime in white and then put some apothecary white over the top of that, and then a little bit of wash in a couple of places, and then kind of call it done, and then paint the gun black. And that had mixed results. It was definitely good enough for quick stuff, but I want these guys to be a little bit more clean, and maybe garrison troops, maybe Death Star troops, something like that. That's kind of my thought, is I want these guys to reflect their cleaner sculpts and their hard, rigid lines, and I want them to look really clear and clean. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give them an undercoat of blue before I put the white on. It's going to be a very light blue, but I want, and I'm okay if a little bit of that blue shines through. It could be reflective of some of the light, or maybe it's just from a distance, from a tabletop distance. I've done this before. I'll show you an example of kind of the look that I'm going for, right? This is one of the mechs from Steel Rift, and these are guys that I did totally blue first with then white over top. And you can see some parts still have a little bit of blue depending on the angle, but from a tabletop distance, this is a very pop, very bright white, and that's kind of what I'm looking for these guys. I want very, very clean uniforms. I'm not going for like Imperial Remnant dirty troopers. I'm going for Death Star troopers, pristine, shiny armor, and we'll see if I get there. So it'll be an interesting one. If you want to stick around with me, I'd love to have you subscribe, enter to any of our giveaways, like our $25 Amazon gift card giveaway, or the Life Day that we're going to be doing in December. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or any one of my other videos as well. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. We're going to prime these guys, and then we're going to hit them with that blue base coat. Just going with a Vallejo gray airbrush primer, and yes, I'm using my hands because I'm crazy. Should use gloves. That, and I'll do this for all of them. Next up, we're just hitting them with this blue. I did mostly airbrush Vallejo white and a little bit of Vallejo air hose. There's no air hose in here. What the hell? All right, so now I mixed mostly like 90% white with just like one drop of blue, and we mixed it up a little bit in the pot, and we're just gonna hit these guys with like a baby blue. And I'm mostly concerned with the undersides, but I'll try and get good coverage everywhere around, because the white will be kind of like a top-down thing. Base coat. All right, so we've got these guys. They are good now. They're all nice and light blue, and we're going to hit them with some white kind of from above. This is just straight white, and we're going for sort of that look. There will be some black and some wash and some stuff come in here also, but we're just going to hit the kind of doing the zenithal method, where we kind of hit from top down and then some of those angles. It's okay if there's little bits of blue in the lower recessed areas. Those aren't going to show too much, and I do want to get a little bit from front on that guy. But yeah, I want it to be mostly white with just bits of blue kind of showing through right there. Just a little bit. All right, so we got them all done, and they're nice and bright and have barely any blue on them, but just a little bit. And really, I think it helps the white really stand out. And also using the airbrush gets really clean coverage as well. So it's a fun thing to do. All right, so now we've got this guy nice and bright. And what I want to do is I have a Null Oil mixture using Citadel Null Oil. And I have it mixed with like 50% water. And then I have another pod of just water that I'm going to go through. And I'm going to kind of put it all over, right? And the thing is, I will put it on over kind of dark right around the mask, and then I'm going to take the brush with a lot of water on it and kind of lighten it up. But I want a lot of water on this, so now I'm just doing straight water I want this to be a very, very light wash. And heaviest on the mask itself, but not too heavy. I still want it to hit all the lines. And I'm going to put some just water on the brush here to take some of this that's already out. See how it kind of pools in the breastplate, and I don't want it to pool in the breastplate right there because it'll dry and then you'll have these coffee stains on there. So I'm going to, while it's wet, I'm going to keep taking some water and pooling it in here. Now get a little bit more of the wash, pool it in for some of these places, and then just work it through nice and light. I want a very, 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 very light wash all around just to get some of the the panel lining. And I'll come back with a fine brush and we'll do like a dark gray or black, for the padding and for the black parts. But for all of the stuff that's on the white armor itself, I want that to be a very, very light wash because it's going to dry with a lot of significance on here. And so if we just slather it on and leave it there, then it will pool in areas. We don't want that. So that's kind of how I'm doing this. I'm going to go over the same area multiple times. I just want a little bit right up in there, pushed up against the lines here on the leg armor and all of that. Yeah, and you see just a little bit right there, very little bit. We want to get kind of all over this, and we just keep going back over with water, and it'll be real nice. You see here on the helmet, this is pooling a little too much right there. There we go. But then we've got to clean up down here. Pooling way too much down there. Yeah. So a lot of cleanup, a lot of multiple trips. But you see, what I wanted to do is I wanted to also collect in like the line in the boot there, which I don't have any over here yet. So I'll put it on a little bit more wash on my brush here. It's going to go on super thick. I don't want it to stay that thick. Now we'll dip it in some of the water, take a lot of that off, and just work it around. And we'll keep going until it gets very, very thin and pale and gets all of my line work done nice and simple. This isn't a substitute for going in here with a fine brush and getting like the black parts, right? We'll do that later. So, And then also not a substitute for the weapon. I'll do the weapon later too. All right, so the other thing I've done is I put dark gray on the guns. I didn't want to use straight black on the weapons. A dark gray kind of already did well, and I can add a couple of like lighter grays and stuff to give a little bit of depth and stuff to the guns, but the wash has done really well right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Black Templar contrast paint, and I'm going to use that and gently try to get in to some of these cracks right here. And this is how we're going to go in there very, very gently. Try and get, I need a little more on it. Put a little thicker. There we go. That's kind of the level that I wanted. So, yeah, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna get all these little areas, like in between the shoulders here. We'll get our gloves. And don't forget the visor, because this is one of the ones that I always seem to forget on a lot of my Stormtroopers. I think a lot of people skip this one too, because maybe it doesn't seem intuitive to do. We also want to do this guy's shoulder pad. So we'll get in there. this a little bit more. And for this one, I'm actually using Amaranth Red from Vallejo. So at this point, I've done a few little touch-ups, and I've put, a few little highlights on the weapon. I want to do the basing now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using Vallejo Thick Mud. Typically, I usually do my Imperials with a snowy base, but I don't like that idea anymore, so I'm going to be doing them with kind of a muddy base with some rocks, and then I may dry brush a little bit of white over the top or not. I have options there, but we'll just kind of go with the basing. Now this is a very, very thick thing, and I'm going to be using an old fine brush, and I'll show you kind of how I do the basing with the model already on there. You can, kind of break the model off if you want at this point, or some people will have their models in something else and they'll do the bases completely separately. I like to do the bases with the model already on there for most of the time. It depends on what I'm doing. For this particular stuff, it works because I may end up getting a little bit on the feet, but that's okay because if it's like muddy stuff, they're going to have a little on the feet anyway. So here, I usually will use a bigger brush, but I'm using a small brush here, and I'll get a bunch of it on, and I'll just use this smaller brush to kind of just to push this around, making sure that I'm getting it around the feet, but not all the way. Not completely covering the feet. I don't mind if a little bit gets on the feet, but I like to keep it mostly where they're not stepping totally as bad. Sometimes I'll take the brush and I'll get like a bigger clump, and I'll kind of roll it and get that on there. Yeah. And then I'll do this for all of my models, and occasionally I'll have to like rinse the brush off and stuff because parts of the material will get all over the brush, and then it'll make me give her sloppy strokes, and I don't want this. But the idea here too is that we're going to have some big clumpy areas, and we'll use those, and we'll put some rocks and stuff in, and if you have some tufts you want to put in, you really can get by with letting the tufts dry as the basing material dries, because this stuff can take like a whole day or so to dry. But yeah, we're just going to keep going like this. Okay, so we've got this guy done now. The next step is to take some rocks, and I want to push those in some of the raised spots like that, and that'll dry totally into the material, and you don't have to glue them. You just want to make sure you're putting it in a spot that has a little extra. So you want a little variance in your rocks here. And I use these little tweezers because they are really nice and help me get things situated. And you can do as many as you want or as few as you want. I usually do like 2 or 3, but in this one I'm doing 4. But yeah, I do variants. And then if you were doing tufts, you can use its tweezers and then put your tufts down and do all of that stuff too. All right, so now that we're done with the basing, I'm going to show you the single most important part of doing any miniature, and that is doing a ring around this base. What we want to do is we want to just get some, I like to go with just black. I used to just change up a color for each, like Stormtrooper unit would be a different color, or I would do like leaders with red and things like that. But now I'm of the mindset that I just want to do them all in black. This really makes a huge difference. You can use a bigger brush for this. I'm just using a smaller brush because that's what I had handy. But this really makes the whole model pop. And I see a lot of people that don't do this ring around their bases, and it's a night and day difference. It's like having a nice front door on your house, or painting your front door and making it like fancy. It's like one of the least expensive things that you can do that proportionately adds so much extra quality to the model. All right, so we are done. That's a quick look at these guys. I may do a little more on the basing and stuff like that, but I think they came out pretty good. I think these models the sculpts are really, really nice. I love the way they came out, and they're really pretty. And just to do like a little comparison, I've got some of my first ever Fantasy Flight Stormtroopers right here. And, you know, to do like kind of a side-by-side, since this is probably the closest one for one. It's a pretty big difference. I mean, there are always good models, but, you know, painting is changed a little bit, and like the bazookas have changed a little bit. Here's one of the old leaders too. Really, you know, I don't know. You come a long way over time when you do like a, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago to today. So pretty cool stuff. I'll probably post some photos and stuff on the social media as well. So if you want to check out those, you can check out those links in the video description below. That's going to do it, though. That's a quick look at how to do up some Stormtroopers. If you like this, I'd love for you to stick around, and I'll talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other's party on, dudes. So say we all. You can't take the sky from me. And always wash your socks.